Hey, it's the original Cannabis Dad, and I want you to tune in to Dro TV and listen to more of these great interviews like you had with me today.
Welcome to My First Time, the show about your first time getting high on marijuana. I'm your host, Mike Freeman with Dro TV. Today, I'd like to welcome our guest, the original Cannabis Dad. What's happening?
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
Thanks for coming on the Dro TV today. You can find more of the Cannabis Dad on Instagram at Cannabis with a T, DAD. And yeah, bud, let everybody know where you're located and how you came to be the OG Cannabis Dad.
All right, so I've got a long history in cannabis. I grew up with, luckily enough, that I had a grandmother that was heavily into the cannabis products and how she was treating her neighbors and helping her neighbors. So I've been around cannabis since as far back as I can remember. I learned how to trim buds when I was around 7 or 8 with my grandma. My cousins all came out during the summer as well. So what we did is she was in Mendocino County in Northern California, and she was a hippie from the San Francisco days, and she grew cannabis for her neighbors and taught them how to make tinctures and edibles and how to make medicine for themselves. And she took care of a lot of her neighbors, and that's kind of how I got into the cannabis side.
Wow. So she's the real OG.
She is the real OG, yes. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore, but she's definitely left a legacy with us.
Well, that's great. May she rest in peace. Um, so the show is My First Time Cannabis Dad. Love to hear the story of the first time you got high. I know it's already going to be a good one just from
Yeah, me and my cousin, we she decided she wanted to see what all this was about. So she was a little bit older than I am, and we grabbed some of the flower that Grandma had grown, and we had seen what she was doing with it. So we decided that we were going to go ahead and try to do it. We couldn't find any papers, so unfortunately, we found some notebook paper, and we just thought we could roll it with the notebook paper, and we just destroyed the good product that my grandmother had made with a nasty, sheet of notebook paper out of one of our notebooks, and we just sat out back and thought we were medicating, but we were not doing such a good job about that. So the first time didn't go over so well, but the few times after that, we figured it out, and we started taking a little bit better quality products and figuring out how we were going to uh, we started with a Coke can. I think most people did, and figured out how we could do it through that. And then we started with a glass bowl after that. And then later on in life, I got into South Florida, where I'm at now, and we got into the stress bale weed that we used to get. So I've had all kinds of different choices of flower.
nice. Uh, so that the first time was in California. You said
It,
Mendocino County.
Yeah, it was in Northern California, just outside of the Auburn area, which is just outside of San Francisco. And yeah, my she's now running the farm that my grandma had left her. So she's still in the cannabis side of it as well. But we look back and laugh at the first time that we thought we were medicating.
Yeah, yeah. How does the weed compare from California to Southern Florida?
The products that she was growing back in, I mean, we're talking almost 30 years ago, 35 years ago, and it has nothing to compare with what we're doing now. She would be so happy with what we were growing now
Oh,
and the
cool.
side of where cannabis is kind of grown. And the not she wouldn't be so happy with so much of the corporate side of it, but she
Sure.
would be happy with the seeing that people are able to choose their medication that they want to use.
Right. Yeah, are all the refined processes to, fertilize and tents and fans and we're able to put out a higher quality product at a higher volume.
Yeah, we can grow it faster, but
Sure.
I'm not always sure that it's always a much better product. You know,
Yeah.
when we start going for these high THC levels and start forgetting about the rest of the plant that we're supposed to have, that's the kind of stuff that would bother us.
Right.
We're more of a terpene hunters.
Right. Right. Um, which is the again more information available, more people are educated now. THC percentage, that's not the bee's knees. That's not what
And you still have a lot of the younger kids that, hey, I want this super high THC level, but they really haven't gotten into the medicinal side of that plant. They're still trying to get as high as possible.
right.
I want to get high. I want to do this. I saw all these rappers talking about their 37%, and I saw all these other people talking about their 37% THC, but they're forgetting it's at point 0.7 terps or something like that. And
Right.
you need all of that stuff in that plant.
Right. Yeah, well, hopefully soon enough. I'm 40, and as I've been smoking weed over 20 years, and probably in the last year or two did I realize what a terpene was, why it has importance. Um, so I guess like everything else, it takes time to educate yourself and learn, um,
Yeah, and
all
I
the
blame
different
the
things.
med tenders a lot of times. I blame the corporations. Again, we go back to this corporation. I blame the corporations for not training their employees well enough to be able to talk to their patients and explain the medical side of this plant.
Sure. Uh, I always try to put myself in their shoes, and I go, yeah, maybe it's easier to grow a higher THC. I have no idea. Maybe it's easier to grow a higher THC than a higher terp. So if we just push the one with the higher THC, that's what the demand is. Like you said, we're not educating our tenders to educate our customers. Hey, maybe try this one. It's actually going to be better for you. It's a little bit cheaper, whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, when the bottom line is we've got this product that has a shelf life, and if you don't get rid of it, we've lost money. So push, push, push. Certainly, the end user, the customer, is the one that loses out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always going to be the patient that is not getting the quality medicine that they're looking for when we're trying to push things out the door. We have companies and again, we're in Florida. We have a number of companies that are starting to do those kind of things where you see Jungle Boys is now in the state. They're getting some higher THCs, but their terpenes are still in the 3 to 4%. You have some companies like the Flowery down out of South Florida. They're doing some good things with their terpenes and still being able to get a decent percentage in that THC content to kind of help with both patients that are wanting that high THC and then the one that wants that terpene count as well.
Right. And a free market would, the customer ends up being the one that determines price. And, as far as if something's too expensive, people aren't going to buy it. So then the price has to come down, or the supply, that's all a part of it as well. So I do see, you work for a dispensary? Are you in the,
I am a part owner in a hemp company. Yes.
okay. Because it seems like I have friends that are growers up north. I'm from Massachusetts, so I still have a lot of connections up there, and it's 100% legal, rec, and medicinal. Uh, but it seems like, and I'm starting to witness this here in Florida, as the small amount of permits available, or the small amount of dispensaries available who can put up 1 million, 2 million, whatever it is, for a license. It's pushing out the little guys. And my friends that were growing for dispensaries, they're getting muscled out because, oh, well, you need to have this size operation, you need to have this type of flow treatment, or this type of fan system that's all regulated. And yeah, maybe that would make his bud better, but I mean, his bud was pretty good before that. So, you know, he's kind of getting muscled out and he's not really sure what to do now. And we're giving more power to these corporations. And I almost feel like what's going to happen is 5, 10 years from now, it's like the big, not to pick on True Leave or whoever, but you know, these big guys are going to own everything. And we're going to be paying more money for the stuff we used to get on the street for 35, $40 that was probably okay, right? I don't know what my guy may or may not have sprayed on it, but uh, dispensaries have been caught selling stuff that's been sprayed themselves. So,
Yeah, for sure. And as somebody that's been in a growing family, somebody that's been, I ran a dispensary in LA during the Prop 215 days where we were still allowed to have the growers bring in their products and drop them off on the counter, and we would go through those at that time. We've gotten away from that when we've gotten into the corporate side of it. So what we've killed is a lot of the growers that were doing the right things on small batch grows, and we kind of killed that side to go with these large batch grows. And what we're doing is we're getting away from the people that were really putting in the heart and love and sweat into that product.
right.
And that's where we're seeing, the products start to fall off. And yeah, as a grower, I don't want to put anything on my flower that I can't smoke, because I'm going to smoke my flower. I'm not going to put something, I'm not spraying anything onto it that I can't smoke. I'm going to be still using my own products. I'm not going to grow something and then have to go from somebody else and pick up their products. So you know what I mean? It's yeah, I understand what they're saying is you got to have the testing and stuff like that. But we just saw Truly got caught here in this state buying better test results. They were paying for better test results. So what's stopping people from getting that kind of corporation where they're taking over and just buying stuff like that? And you can't trust those results.
Sure.
Again, it's $17 million in this state to get the application process started for a medical marijuana company. You can't be in this state and deal with medicine unless you have these big time backers. And once you get the backers, they want to take over your grow. They want to
Right.
tell you how to do it. They want to tell you how to. You got to do it this fast. You got to get these kind of things out. Now it's no longer your grow. You're not putting out the same product that you were putting out before.
Right.
Sorry, I get super passionate about it.
No, that's great.
So
We need more passionate people, especially on the business side of things like yourself, where you're kind of the front line. You see on a day-to-day basis what's happening. And I wasn't even aware of I know Truly's been caught before. That's why I brought their name up, but I didn't realize this most recent allegation. And what's going to happen? A fine, slap on the
yeah, they'll
wrist?
get a $10,000 fine. But what
Yeah.
they've done is made $3 million off of that. So who cares about a
Yeah.
$10,000 fine?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The same thing that they did when they put out their edibles. The first day that this state was allowed to have edibles, they didn't get tested. They were still putting them out, but they paid a $10,000 fine and made all that money. And people thought, okay, Truliev's the only one that has edibles. You know,
Right. Yeah.
so
It's
they corner markets when they are able to go. All right, I got 150 stores that all make $1 million a piece, and then I can go and I can pay those fines. I don't have to worry about that stuff. So how do you trust those kind of things?
Yeah, I always felt you see these banks that launder money for cartels and they just pay a fine. Well, they got paid to do that in the first place. So when the punishment isn't severe or the punishment uh, doesn't match, the crime, what's the incentive really? Oh, there's the expression punishable by a fine means legal for a price. So
Exactly.
uh,
Yeah, we'll figure out what it's going to be legal for.
right. How many times am I going to, I'll just keep paying this fine that I can afford to pay because of what I'm making every day. What's going to happen to me, And people like yourself or myself, if we want to try and get something off the ground, like a $10,000 fine for us could wipe us out. So,
Oh,
um,
absolutely. It would put companies like mine right out of business because I couldn't afford to do a $10,000 fine and then still be able to put all my other products out and get my packaging, pay my marketing team, all of that stuff. There's no way I could do that.
right. Um, So let's switch gears a little bit. Your profile says cannabis saved your life. Is this
Yeah, so I'll get into a little bit of my story. When I was my first job out of high school, I was working on a local golf course here, and the we were doing some top dressing. And what that is when you go out and you punch in the holes into the ground and you're fertilizing the ground and stuff like that. Well, the tractor I was driving had a trailer full of sand on it. That tractor got bumped and it started to roll out of gear. So I thought, because of my first day on the job, I'm going to run up and I want to stop this from happening because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get fired on my first day. So I went up to run next to it and try to jump on the tractor, and that wheel then pulled me underneath that tractor. So I was run
mm,
over from toe to head from the tractor, which came out to about a ton and a half. And then it had the trailer full of sand on the back that came out to about 3 tons. So about four
wow.
and a half tons of equipment ran me over from head to toe, to where I had a ruptured spleen. My lower back has been really messed up with some bad discs since then. I have had the pressure was so much on my head from where it ran over my head that the skin just split open. It was kind of like, not to get too graphic, kind of like popping a zit, where once it gets too much, it just pops out. And
Wow.
that was, so the doctors in this state only knew one thing: let's pump them full of opioids.
Sure.
And that's, my grandma luckily came down and said, we're not going to do that. And she started making the tinctures and doing stuff like that and making edibles for me. And that's kind of why cannabis has saved my life.
Wow. And I would imagine you've been medicating ever since, because
I
that's
have.
not something I would imagine. Back pain, any kind of cranial, that's you probably still have
Yeah,
issues or
since we just changed our regulations in this state down to about 24,500 milligrams per 70 days. I'll just give you a rough estimate of what I use on a 70 day, and I'm looking at about 55,000 milligrams.
wow. So that's what, 5% of what you take?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these new regulations that the state is kind of pushing on us doesn't really help for me. I've now got to kind of figure out how I'm going to make that medicine and get back to that medicine that I need. Same with our cancer patients that are on heavy RSO treatments. That's 60 grams in 90 days. You can't get that much medicine in this state. So what this state is telling you is they don't want you to treat yourself for cancer using RSO.
Right. Yeah, it's quite obvious, regardless of what information, I mean, scientific studies, we have eyes.
Hmm.
We've seen science for years now. I've personally smoked science and have felt science for 20 something years. Um, it's obvious that, yeah, it's not it needs to be regulated. It's we need to control it because, personally, I still think big pharma is one of the big reasons that it's not legal everywhere. Um, because how much would that cut into their profits? Even big farms with an F, uh, agriculture, especially hemp, all the benefits
Hmm.
from hemp. Um, and when you're a senator, a governor, you have these political allies, I guess, where money, it just, it's corrupt to the highest level where you can't make a decision for the right or wrong without it affecting a donor or, some corporation that you promise something to or that you're beholden to. Um,
Right.
you know,
No, absolutely. And here's the other thing is, I'm tired of hearing all these politicians go, "Oh, we just got to study it some more. We got to study it some more." Are you telling me that this isn't the most studied thing that we haven't studied in the last 20 years?
yeah,
We're going back to Israel. This country has had a patent on CBD for almost 35 years.
right.
They knew what that it was getting to the medicinal side because they've been studying it that long. So don't let them tell you that they haven't studied it. I can tell you that there's at least 3,000 peer reviews in the last 3 years. That's more than any other drug that has ever been studied.
Right. And what it does too is it creates an even bigger gray market and black market. I mean, uh, I've yet to get a medical card here in Florida, because I had friends that grew it and they grew it for dispensaries. So, okay, I'll support my buddy.
Hmm.
I'll probably pay a little less, maybe the same. But uh, like what are all these people going to do? You said, their RSO intake's been decreased, your overall monthly CBD intake's decreased. Where do they think you're going to go to get this stuff? Um, I mean, it's probably going to be the black market, most likely, or
Yeah, and what has this state lost the most of in the last 7 years? Revenue by
revenue.
people
Yeah,
being arrested for this medicine.
right,
So, why wouldn't the state go, all right, we're losing out on all that money. You know what? Just make it where it's rec, but don't kill the medical side. If you're going to make it rec, don't kill the medical side like they did in California. Don't kill the medical side like they did in other states when they went rec. All right, everybody can get it now. You still have to have your medical side. We're still treating patients, and you can't kill both of them. So, I'm all for going rec and I'm all for doing home grows, but you still have to have a medical side because you have patients that can't grow, don't understand how to grow, and don't know how to make their own medicine.
Hey, everybody, I want to quickly mention Food Forest Abundance. Food Forest Abundance is a great way to create your own self sustaining food forest and naturally occurring ecosystem that's commonly found in nature, but designed specifically for you. Through multiple layers of trees, shrubs, herbs, vines, rhizomes, mushrooms, and perennial vegetables, you can become your own supply chain without the typical maintenance required of a garden. From small spaces to large areas, both urban and suburban, Food Forest Abundance wants us to get back to our roots in nature by engaging with our food production in a meaningful way. For more information, click on the link in the description below and start your journey today. Okay, let's get back to today's episode.
So
Yeah,
those are, we can talk about home grows and we can talk about this and that. Yeah, you're going to be able to grow a couple plants. It ain't easy. It is not easy to grow cannabis, man. The people are like, oh, you just throw a seed in the ground. No, you can do that, but you're not going to get a quality plant that you're looking for. You're not
right.
getting what you guys are going into the dispensary and thinking you're getting. Look at High Times magazine from anything back in the we'll go early 90s. Look at the flower that they had in there. That doesn't look anything like what we're smoking now.
Right.
I just don't understand where we're going at times with this side of the business, and then we make two steps forward and we take four back, and so I just I put a lot of fight into the Prop 215 side when I was in California, and I saw where when we legalized it out there, it killed the medical side of this, and I just don't want that to go away because you're going to have people with MS that need to come in and have somebody explain to them how to treat their MS. People that are going through and dealing with Crohn's and don't know how to deal with that. You still have to have somebody that's able to talk to them and give them the benefits of this plant.
Right. Yeah, that's an important aspect of it. And I see more now the value and the necessity for veterans organizations that bring this to the state house because nobody wants to go against a veteran, right? I mean,
No,
and even uh, the disparity of arrests, when it's black and brown people. So there's all these things that we can show, but like you said, it seems like two steps forward, four steps back. uh, I'm not really sure where it's going to end up or what the solution is, but uh, I mean, I guess, even if it's federally legalized, we've seen states take things into their own hands on many different issues, not just marijuana. So I would imagine that that would play out the same way, but uh, it's certainly something that I'm glad there's people like yourself, and this is one of the reasons we started the show, is to have more conversations, to reach more people, and to educate. I was a stoner weed smoker. I knew the benefits of it. I understood the plant, but it wasn't until I really got into cannabis, let's say, and figured out, CBD and THC and Delta 8 and really the medicinal aspects of it and what this plant is and represents. And then speaking to more people, how it's helped cancer and fibromyalgia and everything else, that it's more than just a medicine and a wreck get high thing. It helps everybody of all shapes, sizes, and persuasions. And the fact that the powers that be, they know this, so clearly they're you know
Yeah, they know it. They're dragging their feet on trying to help is what they're doing. They know all the benefits of this plant. There is nothing that they can't find right now that would make them change their mind. What they need is they need more people, like you said, the veterans going in and explaining how this has helped their PTSD. People going in and saying, "Hey, this has helped me just get rid of the pain from my bone cancer. This has helped me," any of that stuff. And because you need somebody in front of them to tell them, because they're going to go, all right, I can see this, I can read this, but this is just somebody writing something down. But I need to have somebody tell me that this has helped them. I need somebody to come in and go, this has changed my life. And we don't really have a lot of people that are doing that right now. What we have is a lot of people trying to help themselves instead of going out and trying to help the masses. Where if we were a smart industry, we would go out and we would do more of our educational televised stuff. Hey, you tell me a TV station that won't take some money from somebody for a weekend spot for a half an hour to talk about, because you can talk about the educational side of the plant. You can't talk about the branding and all that other stuff, but you can go on Saturday morning and do an educational service where all these companies should be doing that together. We have 6 big companies in this state that have a lot of money that should be talking about how they're going to get this out in front of people more than what they are.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. They have the money, they have the product, they should be
I
the
mean, you
ones on
see
the.
big pharmaceutical companies every 7 minutes on television. You're going to have somebody talking to you about some kind of pill that's going to make you feel better. How come we can't talk about this plant that makes you feel better?
Right. Yeah, and people being shadow banned on Instagram and Facebook, or even just literally taken down and removed.
To be honest, that's why I don't post as much stuff on my Instagram anymore, is because I've been shadow banned so much that I can't even tell when anything's getting put out.
Right.
And I'm not selling anything. All I'm doing is trying to review this medicine so I can tell somebody else how it's going to make them feel or how it made me feel, so they can have a kind of a guide when they get there.
Right. Well, it's a long road ahead, unfortunately.
It is. It is. I appreciate you taking the time with me and stuff. And we went all kinds of different directions today. So I do get very passionate about this plant.
No, it's we need passionate people. So thank you for bringing your passion today. Cannabis Dad, was a great conversation. Let everybody know the best place that they can find you.
Cannabis Dad at Instagram.
Awesome. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, go down there and smash that like button for the Cannabis Dad, and make sure you subscribe to Dro TV on YouTube, because otherwise you would miss great guests and amazing interviews like the original Cannabis Dad here. So that's it for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And as always, smoke them if you got them.
Always.
What's up, Dro TV family? You can now stream the audio version of all these episodes on your favorite podcast player. And if you like more episodes like this, check out this playlist we put together over here for you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. You don't want to miss more great content from Dro TV. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, smoke them if you got them.